All right, so we've mentioned this pod before. John makes fun of me for it, but John's not here today. And if he was, he probably couldn't even talk to stop me. So, Kings of the North, Doug Maurice, Bill Landis, they cover Northern college football from a Northern tinge. Doug is wearing a cape, I think, at today's game, Jack. It's very funny.
Is it? Why is he wearing a cape?
Because he has a crown on. He's a king. He's the king of the North. He has swords. He's a very funny guy. Well, anyway, on an episode last week, they were trying to find the next teams that they could see coming out of the North. And I wondered, hey, will Nebraska show up on this? And then I saw the YouTube thumbnail, and there was a picture of Dylan Raiola. And I thought, okay, so Nebraska is going to show up on this list. Bill Landis, who is definitely more of the football guy in terms of the X's and O's, he had Nebraska 4th. I believe Doug had Nebraska 5th on the teams like most likely to take the next step. We'll play about a 90-second clip here. This was not the full one. I didn't want to play a 6-minute clip on the show today. But here was some of that discussion. In particular, they're going to talk about the schedule and how that could benefit Nebraska next year. Here it is, KOTN.
I think it's going to be a healthy middle of the Big Ten. And maybe they all beat each other up. But you could look at Nebraska and say, I think they at least have a chance in all these. And I don't think they don't have a chance against Michigan at Penn State in late November. Penn State's like, we came back for this and we're rolling, could be really tough. Mm-hmm. But if Nebraska only has one loss going into that, so they have 7 home games, 4 away games, and the neutral site game in Kansas City. And their road trips in the Big Ten include, besides Penn State, the other 3 are Maryland, Minnesota, and UCLA. Mm-hmm. So underestimate Minnesota at your own risk, but like just on the face of it, it's not like they're going to Oregon. It's not like they're going to the Horseshoe. Right. So the schedule matters for them here.
I think I could see an Indiana situation where maybe Nebraska could beat Michigan earlier in the year because those two teams aren't fully formed yet, and it's like Nebraska rolls through the year and the only blemish in the regular season is maybe they go to Penn State and get crushed late in the season. But yeah, that would still get you into the playoff if history is any indication.
So maybe more of an Indiana path here, maybe not exactly expecting Nebraska to jump from their first bowl in 8 years to a playoff win or 2, but like getting in. Huh. And if they could somehow get in, this would be a lot to ask. But they'd be the 8 seed. You want a playoff game in Lincoln? Anybody up for that? Anybody up for a playoff game in Lincoln?
Be pretty electric.
I like his banners.
So that was KOTN. Now Omaha, Jack, has already chimed in. The entire city of Omaha tweeting in, which is very nice. How did UCLA go this year? Again, not us. We didn't say this. That was Doug Maurice and Bill Landis.
Right. And the thing you got to remember is if a game goes one way one year, it always for sure goes the same way the following year.
Correct.
That's obvious. That obviously happens every year. So those guys forgot that. And hard to blame. They got a lot of things to cover. It's hard to remember.
Yeah.
But
if you're bad one year, you're bad forever.
It cannot happen a different way in the following year.
Yeah.
It's obvious, yeah. A little oversight. Other than that, good stuff.
Yeah. So what did you think of them discussing it from a scheduling perspective? Because we have been guilty of doing that around here for years, right? Where it's like, look at this schedule on paper. It's glorious. Look at all these teams. They're going to start off 10-0 before they lose to Penn State. And then, of course, they lose in September and everyone's sad.
I mean, that kind of goes to the point I was jokingly making about UCLA is like every time you think at the beginning of a year, we do all these exercises, Josh. You'll probably do them again this year where you'll go through the schedule and you'll be like, this is like 90% a win. This is like 90% a loss. And by the time the season actually happens, you're like, man, we had no idea what we were talking about when we assessed these teams. It will always happen. Indiana's a great example this year. Yeah. Goodness sakes.
Illinois. Dude, they went 9-3 in the regular season. Right? I didn't see that coming.
And then Ohio State, we misassessed that game too. For Nebraska.
100%.
UCLA. I don't know if we misassessed at the beginning of the year, but we did at one point, probably thinking it was an obvious win.
Yeah.
None of Colorado, we probably misassessed in some ways, man.
In a variety of ways.
But 2 years ago, you definitely did. But I mean, it is a fool's errand to go through to play the schedule game in any time before a season, because you will always find that you completely misassessed multiple teams on the schedule in either direction.
Kyle asked, did any of their points on NU making the playoff have anything to do with them being a better team than they have been? Yes. I just played that 90-second clip instead of the full 6 minutes.
Damn,
Because
Josh.
I wasn't going to play a
Tell you, man.
6-minute clip. Now, Kyle's a Wisconsin fan, so I get why
okay.
Kyle's needily. Hey, Kyle,
that's better.
People forget Nebraska won by like 20 points or something like that. That was pretty funny.
Josh also just feels more comfortable in the 90-second range.
Hey.
Now, and
6 minutes is also
like-
a long time.
now, Josh, let's point out that the Wisconsin is where Nebraska beat them a year after they lost to them.
Oh, wow.
That's a 1 in a million thing. Okay, that's the one exception that I know of,
Yeah.
at least during my lifetime in college football.
Yeah,
where
if
that
you
happened.
lose to a team one year, you lose to them in perpetuity.
Obviously, it's not going to go it's not going to go differently. 999 times out of 1,000.
Yeah, is it going to be crazy next year when Vanderbilt beats Alabama again, and then they just do
Yeah.
it for the rest of time?
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
How did it go for Alabama last year?
Yeah,
right.
exactly. Oklahoma's
When-
going to own Alabama for the rest of time. All of these things are definitely happening. So I play that not even to ask can they do it, because I mean it's January 20th and that's a weird question. I play it, Jack, to say this. Are we about to enter into another one of these off seasons where Nebraska is the cute, kitschy team that is
No.
going to be? I disagree. I disagree.
Really?
I think people are going to give them the Matt Rule year 3 smoke at some point in time when everyone starts looking ahead.
People on the outside you're talking about, by
Yes,
the way. You're
yes,
not, because
yeah.
inside there's such a shield, as we saw from the little bit of response you got from this,
Yeah.
there is such a shield for this stuff built up
Correct.
that it's not going to really come from inside that much.
Yeah, I think from the outside, especially when we start getting closer to like the summertime and people start making predictions and people start prognosticating, people are like, oh, hey, year 3, Matt Rule. Look at what he did against Temple. Look at what he did, at Baylor. D'Lo says, I can't go through this garbage again. D'Lo, it's not us. It's the outsiders.
Do you want us to go affirmatively tell them to quit saying it?
Maybe we should.
Is that what we need to? Because Josh, that's what you're saying. You're saying you're going to be outsiders who they've got to create content about the season and they look for things. What's the trajectory of this program? What's
Yeah.
Matt Rule done? And what's the schedule look like they were doing? What's a quarterback from year 1 to year 2 do? You
People
might
forget,
be right.
starting
they might
quarterback
be-
going to year 2.
People might say that, and we can't control them. We didn't.
I cannot turn off Doug's microphone.
The Nebraska media didn't tell Doug to say that, just for the record. I did.
That we know of.
I have DM'd Doug and I've said, I like you. Can you come on my podcast? But I've not told him what to say about Nebraska football. I have not done any of those things. I can confirm. I will not send screenshots of my DM, though, because those are private, Nick, and I would never share my DMs with somebody else. Jack, should we go the opposite way and all offseason just say Nebraska sucks?
Yeah,
You know what? They're not making the playoff, Jack. Nebraska's not making the playoff. And they're probably going to be a 500 team again next year. And if you believe otherwise, you're a moron. How does that sound? How did that sound? I'm workshopping it.
Sounded good.
Yeah,
to
I
me.
don't. I don't
Interesting,
know.
Iowa boy. What do you think, though, Jack? You're
How
the
would that
Nebraska
go over?
guy.
I don't know. What if we had like real negative media boy?
Well,
coming out?
I did that in the summer of 2021, and people wanted to kill me. So I could try it again, I guess. I probably got those old pants somewhere in my apartment.
You on one side you've got D'Lo and the people who are texting in ready to kill you on one side for being too positive.
Yeah.
Then if you do the previous to Scott Frost thing, you got people who are gonna be gonna be yelling at you because you're too negative.
Negative.
You got to find that sweet balance. You know what that is?
7 and 5.
No, it's
Oh.
I don't know. I don't know what's going
Wow.
to happen.
Both sides, Jack Mitchell.
I don't.
John
know.
disappears for one day, and you become both sides?
It's lack
And your
of
name is
foresight.
John.
How many soapboxes you got waiting for us, Jack?
It's the smartest thing you can say in all of prognostication and sports radio. Is
Wow, lawyer words.
I don't know.
Wow, lawyer words.
Prognostication.
That's a lawyer word.
Icon points out outsiders will love the top 10 portal class. They will.
What can we do to?
Have
What
you
can we do to
seen-
stop it? What do we need to do? Do we need to have a PR campaign? Hey,
Don't
national
rank us
media.
highly.
Should we put billboards? Should we put billboards in like Atlanta and like the big markets for college football?
We're not a dark
media?
horse. I love this idea. I love billboards around the country.
Like we could just have one that just says, "How did UCLA go in 2024?"
Hey,
Right?
look
Just
at
use-
this win. Nebraska, remember the Iowa game?
Right.
Gotta remind
Rem-
them. Matt Rule stinks,
Right. Just give like Nebraska's record in close games.
Yes.
Just a whole offensive at every level. Billboard. We could send out, it could be like a Heisman campaign, right? When you send out bobbleheads.
Uh-oh. What would we send out?
Maybe like, I don't know, maybe a player that was part of an unfortunate season in the last several years. You can have a whole series of them.
Oh,
like to remind you that Nebraska hasn't been good historically in case they had forgotten that and not gotten it done.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
Maybe a YouTube link to like a bad play. Like, hey, look, remember this? Remember when Nebraska muffed that punt against Iowa? Check out this play on YouTube.
Or
The
maybe
good news is those aren't hard to find.
Maybe some YouTube links to interviews like before the 2019 season.
Hey,
right?
we've seen this before.
Right. Here's we've been through this before. So we know you're falling for it, and we need you to stop because you're also annoying us in doing it as well.
I love this idea. D'Lo, can just see all those segments. Can I read this whole thing?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Can just see all those segments on national shows with Nebraska as the dark horse team with B-roll of Dylan running around Yankee Stadium like we just forced Japan to surrender. Well, let's get out the handshake meme because Jack Mitchell, Josh D'Lo handshake meme, hating Dylan Raiola's celebration after the pinstripe ball.
You're again putting where I didn't say I
Go to
hated
huskermax.com for more.
People were very mad that I expressed that feeling.
Yeah, they were commenting on Facebook. They definitely were.
Chad Kroger holding a picture of Tanda Lee. Look at this quarterback. Look at this quarterback.
Nice.
We could have a whole PR blitz on the national media to make sure this fan base doesn't have to hear overly positive stuff that isn't going to come true because they've had to hear a lot of it, right?
They have, yeah.
They don't deserve to hear, when we have the preseason college game day special, have Pat McAfee having a list on teams to watch in 2020.
You know what's funny, Jack?
You know?
In the full 6 minutes that, again, I did not upload, they begin by talking about how Notre Dame used to always be the team that was way overrated and then would lose, and now they ask, is Nebraska about to be that new team now that Notre Dame has made it to the national championship game? Are they about to be... Now, a lot of people who aren't fans of Nebraska listening right now are probably saying, they've always been the overrated team. They're always overrated. But that is how they began the discussion. So we got to push back. We have to remind the national media, don't buy in to Nebraska. They won't be able to do it. They won't.
Please.
You know what? Why don't you go on Kings of the North and you make that declaration?
I would love to. If Doug invites me on, I would love to talk to him.
Invite yourself.
we could
show up.
I can't just... I don't have his
You could probably send... You probably know enough. We could get a good start on some of the, the podcasters in the college football media world, and then hopefully... game of telephone, move things along, and eventually, we got Herb Street on the line with us. We got all the people, all the movers and the shakers in the college football world.
This is
let them know.
This is not a bad idea. It's like a PR blitz. We start sending those emails that show up in our inboxes every day for Tina is going to tell you why a good night's sleep is super important. Would you like to book Tina for your radio show? We can start doing that to other radio shows. Josh Peterson and Jack Mitchell are here to tell you why Nebraska actually is mid as hell and will not make it to the college football playoff. Don't buy in.
Yeah.
Don't buy in.
And then pop-up ads like click this one reason you will not believe that is going to prevent Nebraska from going 500 this year. You'll be shocked when you see it.
Which celebrity Husker fan was decimated when Nebraska lost to Iowa on Black Friday? And it's just always a picture of what's his name from Workaholics because he went to Omaha or
Adam Devine.
Adam Devine. It's always just Adam Devine.
I don't know. I think this might be good for the fans. This might be good for the people in the chat, Josh.
I think it's a good idea.
Maybe we're obligated to do this for the people that have supported us for so long.
Not a bad idea.
Make the national media negative about Nebraska again. Monogama.
Oh, interesting.